Welcome to
House of Whimsical Terror.
I'm Esther.
I'm Mary.
And we're coming to you today from Tucson, Arizona.
And we're telling real stories of the fantastical.
All of our stories are true or told to us as true.
Occasionally we alter names to protect privacy.
And we do the same for some of the places.
Yes.
But in this story, we're not protecting anybody.
Okay.
Well,
we're just
that sounded terrible.
letting it all.
Yeah, it's my family story.
It is.
And you all know me. And this is, these are stories about my grandfather, which I haven't told. And I keep wanting to, but then for some reason I hesitate.
That's so interesting.
Weird, right?
Yeah, but we're ready today.
Yeah, because in real life I tell these stories all the time.
Huh. In real life, not podcast life.
Well, it's real life for us on this side of the microphones.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know, like when I'm talking to people or we're telling scary stories,
right.
I was telling my Tata Nino stories. So my grandfather was someone who had visions. And he once told me that it was a family trait. Like people would bring other people to talk to, especially his aunt, when they wanted to know things. And he told me a lot of stories about her just saying, oh, you know, this is going to happen and this thing would happen. He told me a story about being with her, and these are in the olden days before cars were in the village where my grandfather was from in Mexico. And they were in a wagon, and my grandfather's aunt saw this woman walking along, and she said to my grandfather, oh, she has just lost her husband. Mm-hmm. And everyone asked her, well, how do you know? Because they hadn't heard. Oh. And she said, she's going to get help. Nobody knows yet, but she's going to get help. And of course, they all knew that she knew things like that. Mm-hmm. So they stopped, and the woman was crying. They picked her up, and she told them, yes, my husband has died. I can't move him, and I'm going to get help. So they drove her the rest of the way. But she knew things like that often. But so did he. And like I said, he said that that our family, my ancestors, were people that they would go to find out things.
Interesting.
I'm not psychic, just for the record.
Oh,
but
just checking.
I come from people who are on my grandfather's side.
Wow.
Yeah. So, stories about my grandfather. So, we have to go back to times before you could easily call from Europe to the United States or from other continents to the United States. Mm-hmm. You'd have to go to a special place to do that.
Like a telegram place?
Yeah, and you could call, but it was like a really special thing. Like you had to go to a center where they could do that, right? Wow. So there were no cell phones at this time, and people did send telegraphs. Or telegrams. Mm-hmm. That the telegrams were easier to send than going to one of these centers that you could call long distance to the States from, for example, France, where I was born. So, my father was Air Force, and we were stationed there back in the olden days before you could call easily back and forth. So they would send telegrams, and this one day, my grandmother was sleeping and thought my grandfather was asleep, and he started waking her up, and he's like, Francis, wake up. Margaret's had a baby boy. Wow. And my grandmother said, go back to sleep, Nino. She's not pregnant. Go back to sleep. And he said, no. And he wouldn't sleep. He was just up all night. And my grandmother said they were just up the next day, and she was irritated because he had woken her up when he was trying to sleep, and they got a telegram that said Margarita's had a baby boy. Wow. His name is Brian Victor, and Yeah, that's it. That was what the telegram said. And it was just the most bizarre thing. They found out later, my grandmother found out later that my mom didn't tell them because she didn't want them to worry because she was so far away. And they grew up in a little tiny town called Ajo, Arizona. And it's a very, it's everyone knew each other. Yeah. They all supported each other. If someone was pregnant, the whole town knew, but they were there to support and help. And she knew her mother would worry. Right. Or her family would worry if they knew she was pregnant so far away.
Wow.
So, but he knew all about Brian before.
He must have had some strong feelings because I wouldn't have woken up your Nana.
So, yeah.
She was tiny but intimidating.
Oh, yeah. She was tougher than nails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sweet.
Yeah, but loving and charitable.
But, wow. Mm-hmm. That's extraordinary. Did he have this gift? Like, was he aware of it when he was younger also?
I think so. I think he just knew things because he would just say it and wait for people to question him. He always had that kind of, what's the word? That kind of, I don't know how to describe it. Like, he'd look at people waiting for them to challenge him, and it'd just be like a kind of a half grin on his face. Right. Like, go ahead. Yeah, challenge me about it. And then it would be, it would be a real thing. So they were very close with Brian. I was the first grandchild, but Brian was just always closer to them. He stayed with them for about a year when we were stationed in San Antonio. And so he became like kind of their closest grandchild at that time. And so there was this other time where we were, like I said, stationed in San Antonio. And it was before Brian went to stay with them. He was little. He was probably about 3 years old maybe. And my grandmother called my mom long distance from Ajo, Arizona to San Antonio. And she said, Margaret, your dad's very concerned because he says, Brian is going to climb a ladder, and he's very, very concerned, and he wants you to know and wants you to watch him. And my mom told her mother, she said, Mom, we don't have a ladder. Like, there's no ladder, and he's always, in the house. If he's outside, I'm with him, but there's no ladder anyway. And my grandma said, okay, well, I'll tell him. So, I guess my tata on my nana's end, my grandmother's end, he was telling my nana, please tell her, Brian's going to climb the ladder. And she's like, Nino, I already told her. So, later that day, we were visiting a friend, and a friend's house. And my mom was in the kitchen with the lady, and she heard me screaming. I was screaming my head off. And my mom went running back, and they had bunk beds, which had a ladder at the very top of it. And Brian had this big smile on his face. He was about to jump, and my mom ran over and caught him and called my nana and tata back and said, Brian climbed his ladder, and he's okay. I caught him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so wild. That, like, second sight and even at a distance, to be able to see.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How incredible.
And that connected. There was one time, so he was the first Mexican who was allowed to be in the Elks Club. I think anywhere, but definitely in Ajo, Arizona, but I'm pretty sure it was anywhere.
I didn't ever know that.
Yeah. So anyway, he would, I think everyone knows this story about my grandfather. He did a lot of drinking. And he would he worked in the mines, and he would hand over his paycheck from the mines to my grandmother. Like, that was family money, household money, and it was hers.
Yeah.
And he would drink with money that he got from being a bartender.
Oh.
So he would work all day in the mines, and then he would, he would get all cleaned up, all snazzy, put on his white button shirt and slacks, and he would go and be like the best bartender in the world, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that was the money he used for drinking. So, somehow...
Organized.
So right. And he was like definitely an overworker.
Oh yeah,
he would have been,
and so charming.
Mm-hmm.
I could see him being a bartender. It makes sense.
Yeah. So he once told me he had the best job you could get at the Phelps Dodge mine for a Mexican.
Wow.
Like he went as far as he could, but racism. So
yeah, I do. Yeah.
So
seems to still be around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was in my 20s and I went by myself. I was missing my grandparents, and I drove to Ajo from Tucson. And I think it's the first time I ever went on my own. I was always with someone, like usually family, when I'd go. But I was missing Ajo. I was missing my grandparents. So I drove, and I was heading to my grandmother's, which is like the main drag, the main road, and it's not very big. I mean, Ajo is like, like 4 square miles or something.
Yeah.
Back then, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I was on that main drag heading to my Nana's house, and I see my Tata's truck out in front of the Elks Club, and I thought, oh. So I pull over. There's no other cars there, so I pull over, and there's a secret bell, like it's locked, so you can't get in.
Oh.
But I didn't see anybody else there, and it was my grandfather. I wanted to see my Tata. So I went and I rang the bell, and he came out. He was surprised to see me, and he told me, well, you're not supposed to come in, but come on in.
Yeah.
So I went in, and there's nobody there, nothing there. He was very meticulous, so he was double cleaning glasses and all of that. And there was like a cheesy, like old country station playing, country western music, and it was just, you could tell it was just always on in that Oaks Club. And my grandfather was telling me he couldn't stop thinking about this young woman that he was in love with before my grandmother. He goes, I love your Nana. I love her more than anything in the world. Like he always said that about all of us. He would love us more than anything in the world. He used to tell me, I told everybody this, I love you more than anybody else in the world. I didn't realize what he meant is, I love you more than anyone else in the world loves you. Oh. I thought he was saying that he loves me more than he loves anybody else.
Oh.
And I think we all thought that.
Well, yes.
Everyone thought they were his favorite. But,
oh, my goodness.
I definitely was.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So,
we are going to see your family members at some point.
Yeah, and they're all going to be like, "Nah, you're wrong. I was his favorite."
No, it was me. No, it was me.
So, anyway, I was his first, so he loved me the longest. So anyway, I was in there, and he was talking about this woman. He said, I can't stop thinking about her. And, I haven't seen her in decades, but I'm thinking about her. And he started telling me about her and how he met her in Mexico. And he came here when he was like 9 years old. So this was him going back to Mexico and seeing her. And there was like a fountain where they would meet. It was all very romantic. It's a really beautiful story. And, all of a sudden he stops, he puts his head down, and he starts weeping.
Wow.
And he was a big crybaby, so he cried all the time because of very, very strong feelings.
Oh, yes.
And so I said, Tata, what's wrong? And at that point, this weird thing happened. So the music is playing on the intercom, whatever. And this is years ago. This is decades ago. So it's not like he had control over what the radio station played or it was on some sort of system. But this song came on, and it was in Spanish, and you could hear like the record, those of you who know what records sounded like, there was like usually like a kind of a crackling sound from the needle going over little grooves that weren't supposed to be there if the record wasn't new anymore. And it was old. You could tell this song was like really an old Mexican song in Spanish. And he he didn't say anything for a while. And then he looked at me and he said, "This was our song."
Whoa. Wow. That's like amazing. Like synchronicity.
Yes. And why would like this song be playing on a country western station, some ancient Mexican song in Spanish, and just crackly and old, and he, you know,
that's incredible.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So there was the last story I'll tell about him, and I feel a little bit of guilt about this. There was a time he had a do not resuscitate order. And he was hospitalized, and not hospitalized, but taken in emergency to the hospital, and he coded, and he died. And they came out and told us, and I remember going into this little bathroom off the waiting room and just like looking up at the ceiling going, no, like I wouldn't say anything out loud, but there was just all of this angst. I don't even remember ever feeling like this before. Just like felt like I was trying to contain something, but I wanted to explode, and I just did not want him to die.
Yes.
And so I came back out, and I remember my uncle looking at me because I guess my face just looked bizarre.
Right.
But I didn't say anything to anybody. I just like wasn't crying in front of anybody, nothing. And what they had done all of a sudden is they decided to go ahead and bring him back, even though he was do not resuscitate, and my mother was his, his person, the living will person that was supposed to make those decisions. They did it anyway.
Wow.
And about, I don't even know when, maybe a year later, he was living with my mom. He's sitting at her table, and he was very quiet because we would talk often. And he looked at me and he said, "I saw you." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "By my bed." He meant in the hospital. And I said, "I didn't go by your bed in the hospital." He goes, "You were there?" He said, "I wanted to go." He was slightly angry, like accusatory. He goes, "I wanted to go. I was ready to go. And then you came and called me back."
Whoa.
And that's it.
Wow.
That's the story.
That is so
yeah. So, he's gone now, but that's the end of that story.
But he lives on in you.
Yes, he does.
He's an amazing storyteller.
He does.
And I remember listening to his stories. And you have that from him.
I do.
And the fact that you're able, any of us, I think it's so important to preserve the stories of our people and to share them. And I don't know, I don't think I'd crossed psychic off your list quite yet.
I don't know. I think at this point in my life, I would know.
Oh, I don't know. Could still happen.
Well, thank you for listening in, folks.
Thank you, everybody. So, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Esther, for such fantastic stories of your
You're welcome.
And I hope everybody comes back, and we certainly hope that you'll listen to more of our stories and share them with your people. But for now, so long, good friends. Until next time when we meet back at the house.